All right, we're kickstarting the bulletin with that France attack, a tragic incident taking place where around 77 people were killed and several others injured. This was in the French Riviera city of Nice late last night. The tragedy unfolded when a truck plowed into crowds watching a fireworks display on France's Bastille Day national holiday. The driver, who drove at a high speed for over 100 meters along the famed Promenade des Anglais seafront before hitting the mass of spectators, was shot dead by security personnel. According to reports, the truck was filled with guns and grenades. President Hollande has left for the tragedy site. Meanwhile, in fact, condolences have been pouring in from across the world. US President Barack Obama has also issued a statement saying that the US condemns the attack in the strongest term and offered any possible assistance to his French counterpart to investigate the attacks. All right, Maha Siddiqui as well as Lavina Tandon joining us over the phone lines with the latest details. Maha, coming across to you first, for the benefit of our viewers, if you could really take us through the sequence of events, what really led to the killing of 77 people?
From what we are learning from reports is that around 10:30 p.m. last night, as the people were watching fireworks display on the Bastille Day, this truck, a white truck, which is believed to be a delivery truck, just came in and rammed into people, killing 77 people, injuring many. At the site, there were pools of blood all across, with many people lying there. Many were rushed to hospitals. But as of now, what we understand is France is still treating this as a criminal case, whereas the US President Barack Obama in his statement has already categorized it as a terror attack in Nice that has happened. Now, what we also understand is that some few hours ago, only President François Hollande was planning to lift the emergency which has been on in France after the attack that we've seen in Paris about 8 months ago, which left 130 people dead. And it is at that time when we are seeing this attack on Nice. Now, what we also understand is that there were advisories of possible Islamic State attacks yet again in France. However, at the moment, the French authorities are tight-lipped about whether this should be treated as a terror attack conducted by the Islamic State, or whether it was a criminal act by a single person. Because we know that in the firefight that ensued, the driver of that truck was in fact killed.
Right. Maha, stay on with us. Let's also get in a quick word from Lavina. Lavina, we just heard from Maha what really happened, and what we have to keep in mind is that over the last many months, over the span of 1 year, we've seen so many attacks happening in Europe. We saw the deadly attack in Paris, now this one in Nice. We can only imagine, of course, how the locals at this point are feeling. Europeans throughout, of course, feeling completely endangered at this point.
Yes, I remember covering Charlie Hebdo, and I did see the undercurrents of such future attacks. Then the society was leading to some kind of civil unrest, and now I feel it is at the brink of a civil war. It's really the entire makeup and of French society is at risk, and we would see such attacks, God forbid. But I don't think my reading is this would not be the last attack as well. France is really in a state of turmoil, and we would see what kind of attacks are happening. This is yet another innovative way where a truck is being tried to use as a suicide bomb because it was full of explosives. Thank God it did not explode. The killings happened by driving it fast. But I must here bring in one thing to notice as well.
Okay.
Whoever takes the responsibility, there is ISIS, there is whatever it is, or Daesh as they call it, that is an organization. But we must remember that in Europe, the biggest problem is that of homegrown terrorism, where individual groups and even individuals or small groups of individuals who have the same set of beliefs, or who have sympathy to one such belief system of, let's say, ISIS or Al-Qaeda, are also conducting such operations.
And that's really the problem, isn't it, Lavina? That there needs to be a clampdown of some sorts, because we're seeing increasing attacks such as this taking place, and there seems to be no mechanism in place to ensure that these kind of attacks are stopped. We're getting some breaking news at this point. The MEA spokesperson Vikas Swarup has tweeted on this attack. He said that our embassy in Paris has opened up a helpline. That number also we're putting out on our screens. It's 331-4050-7070. That is the number. We're putting it out on our screens as well. He said that our ambassador in Paris is in touch with the Indian community in Nice. So far, there have been no reports of any Indians affected. Maha, if you could get us more details on this. The MEA has confirmed that so far at this point, among those 77 and 50 people injured, no Indian nationals have been hurt.
Yes, because the fear is always, looming large. There are so many people who go to Europe, especially in the recent past we've seen Indians heading a lot towards Europe for vacations during summers. And this is the time when lots of Indian tourists go. Nice is a very popular place as well with a lot of tourists. And because there were grand celebrations happening on the beach, there was this fear that there could have been citizens from the country. However, the Ministry of External Affairs at this point ruling out that there were any Indians over there. This comes as good news for India. However, the ambassador has already opened helpline numbers for anybody to contact in case they wish to get any information about their relatives. Remember, a similar move was conducted when the Paris attack happened, because it requires a lot of coordination diplomatically as well as between offices here in New Delhi and Paris to ensure that any of the citizens, if they are stuck or trapped in any way, have no means of getting back to India or may have lost any of their travel documents in the mayhem. They require help, and that's exactly what the Ministry of External Affairs is facilitating at this point.
Right, Maha, for the benefit of our viewers, I'm going to repeat that number again that Mr. Vikas Swarup has put out. The number is 331-4050-7070. If any of your loved ones are in France and if you're concerned, you can call that particular number to get the latest details on the whereabouts of your loved ones. They have put out this number just so that they can update you with the latest details. Let's also get in a word from Major General G.D. Bakshi, who's joining us over the phone lines. General, what we're seeing today is so unfortunate. Almost every other week we seem to be hearing of a terror attack in Europe. What do you attribute this to? Do you think it's really a fact that there is some sort of a security lapse, or the fact that there is terror groups clearly breeding within Europe, and that is the biggest problem?
See, the fact of the matter is that for the past few months, the ISIS has been advocating lone wolf attacks using cars and trucks as battering rams to use their kinetic energy to kill people with these lone wolf attacks, where you self-radicalize a person on the internet and he goes berserk. Terrorism is now, especially this IS variety, is turning into a mental sickness. It is being pervaded on the internet. It is sick, but the fact is that it is there. And as ISIS loses the military battle on the ground in Syria and Iraq, its desperation to hit back somehow, anyhow, and especially by these despicable attacks is on the rise. I expect more of these attacks to happen.
So, but General, also the question is, how do you combat it then? How do you ensure that that these attacks do not happen? Yes, ISIS is spreading. What really can security forces, what really can local residents for that matter do to ensure that these kind of attacks are combated, are stopped?
You see, the first thing that you do is that you will have to increase the military pressure in Syria and Iraq and crush the head. After all, you have established, let a terrorist organization establish a state, use the state's resources to purvey such programs on the internet, to have such heavy presence on the internet. Those sources must be denied. So we will have to speed up our military action. So far, a lot of nations have just been confined. It is only Russia which intensified the military action in a very heavy-handed manner and has dealt telling blows, after which the Syrian army has advanced and captured a number of towns, and so has the Iraqi army reclaimed a number of towns. So we will, one, have to hit back there. Two, I'm afraid in the civil populated areas, how many targets will you defend? You just have to increase your alertness. And I think we will have to now start attacking the website. If the websites are purveying such, dangerous, incitatory, inflammatory material, such advice on how to use the kinetic energy of trucks to kill, I think you might like to take these websites down, hack them, crack them.
Right, so I think there's a all-round crackdown that's necessary at this point. It's time that really the security forces ensure that whatever needs to be done is done, because we're seeing so many such attacks taking place in the recent past. Major General G.D. Bakshi, thank you for speaking to India Today. We're going to cut across now to some local media reports on what's really happening in Nice. Also analysing the news that we've got, the information that we've got on this particular attack. Joining us now on the phone lines is Major General Afsar Karim. General, what really do you make of this latest attack? Over the last 2 months, we've seen endless attacks taking place in Europe, be it on airports, be it the one that we saw in Paris as well. The intention is very clear, isn't it, to create maximum casualties, maximum civilian deaths?
You see, firstly, France's population is such that it has been in a state of turmoil for a long time, and the IS has got a lot of influence there, and France is one of the targets. And this method of attack is actually recommended in some of the directions given by the IS to people all over the world, that how you can attack without getting explosive and things like that. So obviously it's a terrorist attack, and it is horrific, definitely, in conception and execution. But this man who's been driver Tunisian, old sort of French Tunisian, he must have connections with those IS groups and all that. So this is one of the things to watch out, that what can happen in such, what kind of methods can be used by people for mass killing.
General, also, of course, as you pointed out, at this point, reports are suggesting that the identity papers that were found in the truck, the driver was a French Tunisian. That really does show that, the threat of local bred terror is very much real in Europe.
Yes, it's always local help with foreign directions. It didn't require much preparation. They must have watched which are the places where there is no. The truck can drive into the crowd at high speed and kill hundreds of people without being checked immediately. So these are the things that France has to look out for and consider himself under attack.
And General, do you see this really as a pattern? The fact that we've seen so many attacks on Europe, it's very, very clear that at this point, of course, it's too early to speculate on whether ISIS is behind this particular attack. But it's very clear the Islamic State and other terror groups, for that matter, seem to be targeting France and other European countries.
You see, Europe is the main target today. The fight is with the Europe now, and in the Middle East or West Asia also, it is those countries which are fighting them. So at the moment, the concentration of war is there, and the terrorist attacks will be there, and including Turkey, and now it is spreading to Saudi Arabia and other places, and of course here in Bangladesh. But such big, horrific attacks are definitely planned at the IS and directed by them.
Right. General Afsar, thanks for speaking to India Today.